developed academic partnerships with Georgia Tech for engineering, Johnson Business, Cornell University for management, Cornell Law School of Law, and then Batson College USA for entrepreneurship, and others. In addition, Professor Meduri successfully established 3 universities. Under his leadership, currently, Mahendra University has made into its shape and as Institute of Eminence. His contribution to the field of education is greatly appreciated, and he has more than 40 publications to his credit. Professor Meduri, I welcome him to address the gathering.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's indeed a delight to have Dr. Shekhar Mande, Dr. Atul Negi on the dais along with us, and distinguished keynote speakers who have flown in from the US. My good friend Chandrijit Bajaj is here from Texas, Austin, and from Japan and Singapore, and of course from all over India. I was reminiscing that indeed we have come a long way over the last 2 years. Last time I think this was an online conference, and now here we are, of course, albeit a few of us wearing masks, but otherwise the world has turned much more safer to go ahead and have an in-person conference. And I think we're delighted that Mahindra University in the academic session 22-23 can kick off with the computing conference. We have one more, I think, lined up somewhere in March 23, looking at machine learning and data science. And I'm pretty sure that other faculty will be planning more events over the next couple of months. Yesterday was indeed a very interesting day with tutorial sessions, which of course I did not attend, okay, but I hope that some of you all did attend and get some knowledge out of it. And today and tomorrow, besides the breakfast, lunches, teas, and conference dinners which have been planned, I do hope that we will be able to eat the minds of all these speakers who are going to deliver their quantum of knowledge to us. So we do look forward to 2 days of interesting talks and interactions will go on. And I do hope that students who are present will be able to sort of network with these experts who have come in from all across the world to our campus. So once again, thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Professor, for addressing the gathering. We are honored to have the presence of today's chief guest, Dr. Shekhar C. Mande, and he's an Indian structural and computational biologist. He was the Director General of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, and the Secretary of the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, DSIR, and also the Ministry of Science and Technology. Prior to this, he was the Director of National Central for Cell Sciences, Pune. Dr. Mande did his MSc in Physics from University of Nagpur and holds a doctoral degree in Molecular Biophysics from the Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore. Following his PhD, he joined Professor Wim as postdoctoral fellow at Physics University Groningen in the Netherlands in the year 1991. And also in the year 1992, joined as a senior fellow at the University of Washington, Seattle, USA. He was awarded in 2005 the Shantiswarup Bhatnagar Prize for the Science and Technology, the highest science award in the India, in the biological science category. So he has been honored with the several other prestigious awards in life. And he is with us today. I request Dr. Mande to address the audience.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Professor Icetci, Professor Bhattacharya, Professor Negi, all the distinguished guests who are gathered here, participants, colleagues, friends. First of all, thank you all very much for giving me this privilege to be amongst all of you today. I am not a computational intelligence person. In my career, I was computational biologist to some extent. And then I moved into science administration, which is actually moving away from science really. And once you accept some of the administrative roles, uh, it's not very easy to keep up with what are happening around us in sciences and so on and so forth. But as luck would have it, uh, when I was in Delhi, the global pandemic struck, and then it became duty of all of us to stand up and make science count for our people and for global health in general. So I had the privilege of being at the helm of CSIR and also the Secretary in the Government of India in the DSIR to fight the battle against COVID from the countryside. So that's the privilege that I hold very close to my heart. But thank you all very much for calling me here. As I said, I am not a computational intelligence person at all. And when Professor Bhattacharya requested me to come for the inauguration, I did read a bit on the web page of the IEEE on the Computational Intelligence Society, what it is about. And most of the terms at least sounded familiar to me, despite spending so many years in administration. So, neural networks and evolutionary algorithms and all do indeed sound so much very familiar. And reminded me, of course, of the close interaction between biological sciences and other sciences, especially engineering, which are trying to learn from each other in many, many different aspects. I was reminded of an example of several years ago, almost maybe 15, 20 years ago. There's this paper in Science which had caught our attention on how engineering was trying to learn from biological sciences on different phenomena. And a particular issue that this paper addressed then, this was about 15 or 20 years ago, in an issue in Science, was how do you actually set up distributed towers, for example, the power distribution or mobile towers or whatever. There's a classical problem that what is the most optimal way of setting up towers in a geographical location. I mean, you want to set up as few towers as possible. At the same time, you want to reach as many people as possible. And this problem apparently has been tackled in many different ways by the computer sciences in the past. But this particular paper made to Science because it was trying to learn from biological principles, especially those in one of the models that biologists use, something called a fruit fly or Drosophila, in which Drosophila during development grows hair which act as an antenna on the head of the fruit fly. And the process of developing this hair is such fantastic that we still haven't really understood all aspects of it, that all the hairs are placed on a tiny head of the fly, but they are placed optimally. So as little number of hairs as possible, but to cover as much area as possible so that the fly can effectively find its way over the world. And these people had learned from that and applied that in the optimization algorithm, and which I thought was a fairly cool idea then. But as I said, evolutionary algorithms and all have existed even prior to that. People have been trying to adopt ideas from biology in computer science for a long time. But biologists also, on the complementary, have learned that the techniques that we have been using to address biological problems have been inadequate, and we often get mired in lots of data that is generated using the techniques that we have evolved in the last 20-25 years. There's a huge amount of data that is actually being floated around, and in fact, today if we go back, that have we done justice to the data that is available to us? And the almost emphatic answer that comes from all quarters is no. That the amount of data that is available and the wealth of information that is available is just humongous and very, very rich. And therefore, it's generally believed, the computational biologists like me, we believe that in the coming era, we would be actually using available data much, much more than others. Now, in this sense, biologists have been rather late to wake up compared to many other sciences. For example, material sciences and all have started using large data very effectively. Ecological sciences, weather predictors, they have started using large data very effectively. And because I mentioned weather predictors, just to transgress a little bit, I realized that some of the phenomena that we actually encounter in real life in many, many different aspects, whether it be ecology, environment, weather, biological sciences, are so much complex that to address them using any single technique or a single discipline is possibly not feasible. And just reminded me of a weather forecasting example from a couple of days ago, and just mentioning it in the lighter note, but fairly serious one and a sad one, is that you would have heard the news that in Hungary, a couple of days ago, the chief of weather prediction was sacked because of wrong weather prediction. And that is an extremely sad situation. And most of the scientists around the world, I assure you, are feeling very disgusted with the Hungarian government, which probably did that. And the reason was, Hungary was planning a big firecracker show on their national day, and the weather prediction office told them that there is going to be a big storm, and therefore this particular show may be postponed. And as luck would have it, the storm did not show up. And because of this, the powers that be were upset with the weather predictors. And immediately in Delhi, some of us got together yesterday, and we decided that we are going to inform our politicians better that predictions can go wrong and predictions will go wrong. Predictions are, after all, predictions, and there is no guarantee that every prediction that we make will be right. And we had a very real sense of that during the pandemics when we were making predictions of how the disease was spreading and all. But the weather predictions, pandemics, biological sciences and all, ecology, are extraordinarily complex areas. And we need to learn a lot about them. And societies such as the IEEE, through the Computational Intelligence Society, although your objective probably is reverse, to learn from biology and implement them in your algorithms and all, but I would also urge that we also try to see that whatever new development that are taking place, we apply also them for real life problems such as weather predictions, ecology, pandemics, and so on and so forth. As luck would have it, today's science issue, as you know, science is published on Fridays. So today morning when I opened up my mail, I saw the science issue table of contents on my desktop, on my laptop. And it carries a paper in which people have used deep learning for ecological modeling. And it's a very, very fundamental question that they have addressed. In one of the most important areas in ecology and environment is about diversity. How do you maintain very large diversity and don't really compromise on diversity of living forms around the world? But unfortunately, since 1850s also, or even earlier when the human migrations began all around the world, the diversity has consistently gone down. And the acceleration of loss of diversity has been since 1850s, and especially in the last 50 years, there's been even further acceleration of loss of biodiversity. And the most vulnerable species in loss of diversity, of course, are the predators such as tigers, lions, leopards, sharks, whales. They're the most vulnerable because they sit on the top of the food chain where they depend on other living forms for their own sustenance. And over a period of time, the anthropological effects have been so devastating on the biodiversity that many species in the last 50 years, close to about 100 species or maybe more, have gone extinct in the last 50 years itself. And the habitat of all the species is getting restricted, and they are now restricted to certain geographical areas rather than being what they used to roam around freely on the planet earlier. And that's going to be devastating for the planet Earth. The loss of biodiversity is going to be absolutely devastating because each of the species brings with it its own value to maintain sustaining environment for the planet. And all of it that we see, whether be it the climate, or whether be it biodiversity, or whether be it other areas that we can actually think of, all of it are so closely interlinked that even for the sustenance of humanity itself, we have to ensure that we maintain appropriate diversity at all levels, whichever level that we can think of, that diversity we must ought to maintain. And that's where the role of modelers, computational modelers, would be very, very critical in the coming times. And whatever new ways of learning these models, or whatever the computational intelligence society can come up, think of, and try to improve our predictability of events, and try to improve our understanding of nature itself, is going to be extraordinarily useful in the coming time. And I look forward to myself doing some work, not exactly in computational intelligence, but as I get back to academics now, in my coming few years, I look towards applying some of the principles of big data analytics in biology in my own laboratory. And I do hope that we will gain some understanding of biology through this or enhanced capabilities of analysis of data. So thank you all once again very much. Thank you so very much for giving me this chance to be here amongst all of you in the distinguished gathering, and good luck for the conference.
Your years of experience, your depth of understanding, and your ability to present anything easily in such an interesting way made our day. Thank you, Dr. Mande. Today is our guest of honor, Professor Atul Negi. Atul Negi is currently working as a full-time professor in the School of Computing Information Sciences at University of Hyderabad. And previously, he worked as director at PIES, India. He holds the PhD and MSc Engineering degrees from University of Hyderabad and in Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore. He graduated with distinction in Electronics and Communication Engineering from Osmania University, Hyderabad in the year 1986. He has delivered the IETE Distinguished KK Nair Memorial Lecture in 2012 and was a keynote and inaugural speaker at several national and international conferences. His work on pattern recognition and document imaging is well cited, and he has more than 100 publications in peer-reviewed conferences and journals. Professor Negi is active in IEEE Indian Council and is the publication chair and computing track co-chair for many conferences. For his efforts as an IEEE volunteer, he was awarded the 2020 Art and Outstanding Volunteer Award. And it is pleasure to having you here, Professor Negi. Request him to share his experiences and address the gathering. I welcome you here.
Thank you for the introduction. So, it's my privilege to share the dais with eminent scientists and that is Dr. Shekhar. I was happy to find out that we had a common background of the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. So to address everyone here, I am really happy to be here, and maybe we'll talk a bit about how this conference could start and take off. So in the IEEE we have what is called as the World Congress of Computational Intelligence. That's a huge kind of a, you can say it's a very huge gathering, and all the diverse aspects from fuzzy and statistical aspects and all the evolutionary computation, all these aspects are discussed. However, in our country and especially in Hyderabad, we did not have anything, and with Professor Arya, we were trying to come up with a good title, and that's how the title of the conference, that is the Emerging Techniques in Computational Intelligence, this evolved last year itself. I'm really happy that we could sustain and take it up despite all the difficulties with pandemic. Last year itself, Professor Arya was very keen that we must have it in person and physical attendance, but as in the first talk which we saw in the morning, you had these peaks and waves, which as it is famously difficult to predict. So that's how. But now we have it here today, and I'm really very happy to see that IEEE Hyderabad section, which I represent here as the chair. I'm happy to see that this is actually happening here. I personally also belong from the computational intelligence field. That is although I started in statistical pattern recognition areas, but then along with my colleague here, Professor Pujari, we worked on some neural networks. And right now, as Dr. Shekhar said, deep learning is no, it is on the forefront of science, and it's got the world's attention. Um, and as Dr. Shekhar was saying, that biologists and computational intelligence scientists should be working together. And I will confess that the models, the computational models, wherein a huge number of papers, thousands of papers are published, are based upon the um, old biological models of neural behavior, which is say like Hebb's and McCullough-Pitts neurons, which is modeled almost 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago. So yeah, I think we can try to see that how the computational models of a neuronal behavior, and then groups and collections of neurons in the neuronal architectures, which was there, and the present learning, that is the deep learning, has just started off. With the 3 layers, but then as they found that you can add more layers, successive layers, and then you can improve the predictions. So you can say that that is how deep learning has evolved. And at present, the latest count is that you have more than 10,000 papers being published annually in the past few years in this domain. Okay, so I'm happy that Professor Arya has put the clamps on the number of papers getting accepted into the conference, and from the beginning we always had the help of the entire program committee, the general chairs, that it was very focused on the quality. Okay. So I look forward to the proceedings of the rest of the conference today, and I hope everyone here will have a great conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Negi, for enlightening us with your address. Now we have inaugural lecture by Mr. Nikhil Malhotra, Chief Innovation Officer, Tech Mahindra. Because of unforeseen emergency travel, Mr. Nikhil is not there with us in person and has shared the contents of the talk with us. I request Professor Arya to present and brief the content.
you. Of course, I've already had when I've spoken before here. Now, the thing is that I'm not Nikhil Malhotra. So he was the equivalent of Chief Technology Officer in Tech Mahindra, and he was invited as the main speaker in this technical speaker here. Unfortunately, he had to, as Prabhu announced, he had to leave at the last moment for US for some critical work. So he sent the slides to me to be presented here. Now, I've gone through the slide contents, I'm going to present it. And I'll try to maintain the fidelity of the thought process of the creator of these slides, that is Mr. Nikhil Malhotra, although I may or may not agree with all the matter that is contained within. So, to start off with, who is Mr. Nikhil Malhotra? So I'll not read through the entire thing. So Nikhil Malhotra is the Chief Innovation Officer and the creator of Maker's Lab, a unique incubator space within Tech Mahindra with 21 plus years of experience. Nikhil is also a World Economic Forum AI Fellow working on responsible AI and quantum ethics. So, possibly with this brief in the next paragraph, he has been a researcher all his life and is now leading the growth of AI, robotics, and quantum computing research within Tech Mahindra. The area of personal research has been how quantum computing could inspire the growth of AI. He consults various businesses and academic organizations on the future of AI and quantum. He has won numerous awards, including the 2020 and 2021 Innovation Congress Award for Most Innovative Leader in India. So, among his other things, one of his visions is to enable machines to talk in local Indian dialect. So, there are 1,645 dialects in India and 26 mother tongues, and 80% of Indian population does not speak English. Nikhil is researching on Sanskrit and how this ancient Indian language could sow the seed for the next computer revolution. His hobbies include playing tennis, football, and reading books, quantum mechanics, and biographies. He holds a master's degree in computing with specialization in distributed computing from Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, Melbourne, and he is an avid and he resides in Pune with his wife and his son. All right. So, here we come to Maker's Lab of Tech Mahindra. What's our mission? The mission statement is our mission is to build smart machines of the future, systems, neuroscience augmented by quantum information, and rise tenets that drive us. So this rise is actually like now it is quite well known in the Mahindra group. The rise tenets that drive us are rise to innovation, entrepreneurship to build value, and sustainable technology to build a more equal world. Some of the first in the industry. So, like of course, this is Maker's Lab and Tech Mahindra. Let's keep that in mind. One of the only IT service industry to have found a therapeutic molecule against COVID-19 using first principles research. Quantum communication using post-quantum cryptography. Support 140 million farmers of India with a holistic app on agriculture and practice. Creators of a first of its kind coding editor called DHTML, enabling rural India to code via the metaverse, and India's first public service bank to go on metaverse. So I'm sure there are many other firsts, but he has probably pulled out the first 5 which he thinks are the most influential. Okay, the new world order of technology. So here talks of hybrid cloud, AI is equal to neuroscience, metaverse, 5G, quantum. Focus on neuroscience, inspired AI. The challenges of AI. We have seen quite a bit of work that AI can do today from vague to predictive. The AI still suffers from challenges. Improvement in AI principles. The effort is to bring it closer to human brain. Special focus on language. This has been my area of research for the past 10 years. Study the brain, the single most, of course, I think you all know, single most important scientific quest for humanity is to understand the human brain. And here, to know thyself, possibly cure diseases of neurological origin, and to advance artificial intelligence. Learn with small amount of data. Challenges of AI. So here I think what he's trying to show is that what we call as the tip of the iceberg. It is more like it's not exactly an iceberg, but it shows that there is, if you consider this to be AI, what we have seen today so far is just the part that is sticking out of the water. So fission. There is a reason I start with this. Photosynthesis has been there for almost from the beginning of time. Trilobites circa 500 million years ago, and marker in the blink of an eye, how vision sparked the big bang of revolution. Okay, so as we know that well, probably this is what he probably is trying to say here is that what we call as the major developments in deep learning, probably it started with computer vision and image processing challenges. Although I'm not sure if that's what it is. Brain, is it all mush? So here is trying to show different elements of the human brain and different thalamus, amygdala, hippocampus. Before we delve deeper, let us understand the primary parts of the brain. This is the brain stem, then autonomous behavior and motor control. Hippocampus, amygdala, thalamus. Hippocampus takes care of long-term memory. Amygdala, we call it the 4F region: fight, fright, feed, and think. And white matter. White matter connection. Okay. Too much of detail will be Hippocampus, where memory resides. So, of course, here we're talking about the human brain. So, Oliver Sacks, the man who mistook his wife for a hat. This is where he deals with vision. Brain to mind. What is the mind anyway? Set of computations that explains the concepts of thoughts. So, ideally, if you understand mind, you should be able to write code that carries out the same computations and extracts the same representations. The question is, can we? Here we actually stress on the importance of color. So as you can see, what is the problem statement here? What is being computed? What is the input and what is the output? What are the challenges of the game? So if you look at color as a challenge, just look at this. There are berries. This one cannot make out how many berries are there. And when you have color, I think it's easy to make out. Just makes you stress on the importance of color. And then again, the challenge of color. So, L of, I'm not too sure what the symbol represents. It represents so, only L, we can see that L is some function of small l and r. So, only L is known, and we need to assume small l and r. It's like 48 is equal to a cross b, and where a and b are not known. So, this is an underdetermined problem. This is what the brain does. Examples of how things look different when you put different colors to them. Neurocircuitry. Now it is trying to show the resemblance with typical multi-layer perceptron or feed-forward fully connected network. Honestly speaking, I am not able to see much connection here, but I suppose he has got something which I am not aware of in the back of the mind. Then we get into reasoning, and I think there's a lot of discussions about various things. Let me skip these slides. Reasoning and emotion. Our research is in synaptic graph networks for language. Graph that was being learned faster to line up on inference. So if you look at the total synaptic graph, there are paths which are learned gradually, paths that are lined up. When you're trying to look at, get some sensory inputs and try to draw the quick inference on that. now he gets into quantum computing a decade upon us. So we'll talk about what is there in this. Why should we be excited? So it is no longer science fiction. It means we're talking of quantum computing here. Practical use cases have started emerging. Complex scope in society, so optimization, protein folding and chemical analysis, computational requirements. Of course, the reason why we are trying to get into this is that edges of classical computing have reached. We have referred to the demise of transistor by 2024-25. This is the author's prediction. It also means global dependency on energy for technologies are sustainable, mostly reversible operations. I think we understand this. So basically what we're trying to say here is that the traditional computation is very, very energy intensive, and I mean, they take up large amounts of energy, and there have been actually comparisons where if you run a particular simulation for 24 hours, it is like the equivalent of 10,000 cars running for a year in terms of energy expense. So obviously, if we can find out alternative paths for computation out of the classical approach, one of the motivations or one of the benefits could be the gain in energy and you can see sustainability of that. So, and sustainability is something which is very important for us today. So these are some of the complex application scopes that he has mentioned, and we will talk about this in the next few slides. So basic quantum principles. So yesterday we had a tutorial on quantum computing, and if you compare typical classical computing, we have bits which have got two values, either 0 or 1. And in what we call quantum computing, we have what we call as qubit, which could have, here we're talking of a single bit and a single qubit, which will have a value of 0 or 1. But then what we call as the superposition, and that allows a continuous set of values anywhere between 0 to 1. And that actually significantly expands the abilities for computing and the abilities for fast computing, which just using bits with 0 and 1 cannot be done. So this is trying to show entanglement in terms of this is 1 and this is 0, or vice versa. And we actually, when we have the qubit region, we have the entanglement region. It can be anything in between these two extremes. So basic quantum principles. So in classical mechanics, if you are trying to let us say you have got this, he's trying to show some kind of an optimization problem, I suppose. In this, we have, let's say we're trying to reach, there's a global optima somewhere, and one starts off or initializes the solution at some point, and then one has to cross barriers by going over that. Now in quantum mechanics, it can be shown that instead of going over the barrier, one can tunnel through the barrier. And that actually makes a significant, rather speeds up the optimization process. However, I'm not too well aware at this point in time whether this is really working well. And in fact, we have tried to do some elementary research on this, and we found that it does not really work to that extent. All right, anyway, so quantum computing, distribution of quantum computing use cases along with the estimated value. So here actually you may not be able to read this. So it's trying to show that quantum computing already is being applied, and of course the date here reads 2019, and it's trying to say that in different sectors, what is the near term, medium term, and long term applications to be likely. So the first one is finance. It shows that it is already 98% of the but as 90, I don't really know what this percentage here stands for. I think it's 28%. So the support by quantum mechanics to finance is of the extent of 28%. And estimated value at stake, so the blue one is high, the other extreme is low, and then this one is showing medium. So in this case, there is a high impact of quantum computing on finance. Talking of global energy and materials, so it's again showing a high impact. Advanced industries shows high impact, and then we goes into pharmaceuticals and medical products, telecom, media, and technology, public social sector, professional services, healthcare systems, travel, transport and logistics, insurance and consumer goods. So it shows, and this is of course a study by McKinsey and Company. It is not a particular thing that has been done by Tech per se. So this is a management firm which has come out with the study. So this is what we have. Okay. Our efforts. So when we talk of ours, we are talking of Makers Lab. And in this Makers Lab, he has already, the Makers Lab team from Tech Mahindra has been interacting with some of our faculty, particularly Dr. Jayashree and Dr. Chitra. I don't know if they're here right now. So in this, first thing that we see here is Quantum Technologies and Computations Group. So at the design level, we're talking of photonics and metasurfaces based quantum devices. And the implementation is using quantum algorithms. So in the quantum algorithms, he has got quantum machine learning, quantum circuit implementation, quantum annealing, and quantum inspired algorithms. Members are Jayashree and Dr. Om Prakash, who is, I know he's here, and PhD students and PDFs to be hired, BTech students pursuing projects, and these numbers can fluctuate actually. All right. On the design side, photonics and metasurfaces, we have got computer simulations. Again, quantum emitters controlling the SPCs and implementation of AI algorithms. So members are Dr. Chitra Gurnani, Dr. Kamna Pandey, and Dr. Jayashree. And collaborators are IIT Madras and some PhD students who have been mentioned here. Quantum technologies actually is, I think, effort being undertaken along with DST Make in India program. So it's not very easily readable. Talking of design of EMTC metasurfaces, fabrication, direct position methods, and numerical simulation, very mentions finite elements and finite difference methods. Characterization, detection of speed using real efficiency. Anyway, certain things I'm not able to read through exactly. I can see some amount of machine learning here and resultant data such as zone spectra, field profiles, phase polarization. So this is a kind of project that is being proposed, and this is what he has in the back of his mind. I'm not able to exactly spell out what was there in his mind. So design and fabrication of carbonite based surfaces. So there's a design aspect and there's a fabrication aspect. In the design, again, it shows application in quantum technologies, photon manipulation, non-classical detection, and quantum light sources here. So again, I'm not too sure of what the details that he had in mind. Challenges of drug design today. Those who are engaged in this, they will be aware that they have had manual steps like target discovery, binding, site identification, analysis of location, amino acid structures, duration, preparation of ligands, preclinical, clinical trials. Then there are automated steps to provide sample space for genetic algorithms for classical GANs. GANs discover drug candidates. Well, anyway, I don't want to comment on this. I'm not too sure how well these are working at this point in time. Challenges. Manual approaches take a long time. Classical GANs discover drug candidates, but the space of sampling is quite limited. And classical GANs observe some dimensionality, which is the resultant of the exponentiality of chemical space. Alright. So our approach is a hybrid quantum GAN generator. Honestly, you would have been the right person to speak about this. So I'm not really able to understand much of what he's trying to say. And what he's trying to say here is, you can just read through this, a hybrid generator and a classical discriminator-based system for a quantum efficient GAN, and generate potentially better drug molecular graphs, easy representation of molecules as graphs. So I don't know whether this is a plan or it is being activated. I'm not too sure. Okay, you would have been the best person to comment on this. Hybrid quantum GAN generator. So back to quantum technology potential. The US dollar 310 billion cumulative value addition to the Indian economy by 2030. This is a NASSCOM Avasant report by February 2022. So critical maturity, that is development of fault-tolerant quantum products with high technology readiness, expected by 2027, leading to an increase in enterprise adoption. This critical maturity implies development of fault-tolerant quantum products with high technology readiness, and we expect it by next 4 years or 5 years. The manufacturing, high-tech, banking, and defense sectors will likely lead the charge of adopting quantum technologies for critical and large-scale use cases. This kind of matches with that particular McKinsey report, or McKinsey report that we have seen, where we talk of finance and materials as probably the lead suppliers of quantum technologies. India has the potential to become an attractive destination for quantum R&D, software development, and components and equipment manufacturing. Opportunities, without getting into the details in this week, is agriculture, the agriculture sector, financial services sector, healthcare and life sciences, high-tech sector. High-tech sector specifically is referring to semiconducting materials, chip layout optimization, improved battery cells, software testing. Manufacturing, where is referring to fabrication optimization, price forecasting, quality control and optimization, and inventory planning. So part of this is supply chain. Public administration and defense. And in this, he does mention climate change, possibly climate change predictions. Telecom and broadcasting. Okay, so dynamic network inventory allocation, 5G and 6G network optimization, site planning and optimization, satellite position optimization, travel and transportation, dynamic route optimization, aircraft and on-ground vehicle scheduling, weather forecasting, and autonomous fleet management. And finally, utilities and resources, where it talks of underground resource exploration, thermodynamic modeling, electricity, grid management, CYTC, network monitoring. I'd just like to add that this is not a prediction from Tech Mahindra, but this is India's overall, you can say, high-level software organization, which kind of, so it is a link of all the major software companies in India. This is a NASSCOM Avasant report, which is the same report that we saw before, the previous slide, February 2022. Okay. Then he starts talking of metaverse and related things. So, Star Wars, the Mandalorian, I think, I don't know, probably our youngsters may be able to appreciate this better. So, let's look at a few of the examples that he's talking about here when we talk of metaverse and related aspects. So, we have metabanks. Metabanks will become normal. What we have the normal banks today will become metabanks. So, what do we expect in metabanks? So, a bank that has got no four walls. It is completely virtual. The bank is available to you on a PC and then ESC. All assets in bank are secured and can be transacted with your own avatar. Bank employees log in securely in this metabank and are available in their own sectors to communicate and transact. Transactions are available and guided by avatars. Of course, the bank employees are supposed to be the avatars. And there is a red room where personal chats, which are extremely secure, is also available. So we will also have some presentations by NVIDIA down the line where they'll talk of metaverse and omniverse and things like that. So let's see. Meta events have already started. So in current scenario, both artists and fans are seeking new methods to engage. So using metaverse, we can include the fans in the actual creation of music or video. So live concerts in virtual space. In a virtual concert, you can immerse yourself in the live concert and see your favorite artist without leaving your homes. 3D avatars for fan engagement. Artists can construct virtual identities that they can use across numerous digital platforms by using 3D avatars, while fans can have an online identity with an artist through these avatars, which increase loyalty and participation in the virtual world. So again, I think this is forward thinking. Metaverse redefining consumer buying behaviors. This is something which is probably getting into application, already got into applications. So statistics are that an average young consumer spend something like 7.5 hours a week on gaming and social media, and they demand immersive experience more than brand statements. They rank tech savviness almost as high as freedom. metaverse leverages the next stage of evolution of internet architected on Web3 and decentralization. Now, e-commerce loses approximately $18 billion annually with 85% cart abandonment rate on mobile because of trust issues and fragmented process and too much of quest for personal data. And 70% of visitors have bought something in metaverse. So here is comparing their 50% buying and here 70% buying. Okay, brands are metaverse journey, so we have yes. So this is about his ideas. And then there are 7 layers of experience. So he has spoken of various layers of metaverse. Metaverse use cases, there are a lot of use cases now. And applying the VR model. So VR, I just put close to this. So this beliefs drive actions and actions drive results. Principles to transform results, we need to transform actions. To transform actions, we need to transform our beliefs. And find innovative solutions, we need to identify the beliefs, we need to transform our beliefs. So we have a sequence of, I would say, beliefs, actions, and results. So this goes on, and I think I'll probably, I think this is the second last slide possibly. So, the last slide, okay. So need of the hour for India. So we have 4 technology play, R&D partnership, ecosystem collaboration, skill building, and use cases. So I think that's about it. That is Nikhil's presentation. And I think I tried my best to read out whatever is there. Okay, thank you very much. I'm not too sure if I'm able to answer your questions you ask, but I can probably transmit them on to Nikhil as recorded questions. Just in case there is anything. Yes, Professor.
Thank you very much. Very exciting, I think. I'm very surprised or impressive. It is very impressive that to see the Mahindra. Okay. Mahindra Group is doing many things, and it is very suitable for this development in multiple directions.
What up?
Do you have any special scope in the education, in the university and this kind of education? Both of them. Yeah, metaverse and also. Yes. Yes.
There are any more questions? Or I'll stop here. Okay, thank you very much for listening to Nikhil, to me actually, but listening to Nikhil Malhotra. Thank you.
Mr. Arya, present on behalf of Mr. Nikhil. I request again our dignitaries to join on the dais. Okay. Thank you. So I request Professor Meduri to present the token of gratitude to Dr. Mande.
Take this. Take 85.
Professor Arya to present to our guest of honor, Professor Atul Negi. Thank you, professors. Now I request Dr. Neha to present vote of thanks. Over to you, Neha.
Thank you, Dr. Prafulla. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all the honorable dignitaries and the participants. On behalf of all the organizers and the volunteers, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the honorable delegates who blessed us with their presence and took out the valuable time from their busy schedule. First of all, I would like to propose a hearty vote of thanks to our respected, most distinguished chief guest, Dr. Shekhar C. Mande, former Director General of CSIR, Government of India, for gracing inaugural function of the second International Conference on Emerging Techniques in Computational Intelligence 2022. Thank you, sir, for your interesting and thought-provoking address. I would like to extend a special thanks to our guest of honor, Dr. Atul Negi, from University of Hyderabad and Chairman IEEE Hyderabad section, and Mr. Nikhil Malhotra, Chief Innovation Officer, Tech Mahindra Limited. Although he is not there with us, but I would like to thank on behalf of Mr. Nikhil Malhotra to Dr. Arya for presenting these slides on his behalf. I also wish to express my profound gratitude and a special thanks to General Co-Chair Professor Nikhil R. Pal and Professor Akira Hirose for their extensive support and guidance in making this conference a grand success. I express my gratitude to all chairs for making this conference successful with their contribution. I am very grateful to our patron, Professor Yajnu Madhuri, Vice Chancellor, Mahindra University, for his extensive support and guidance. I extend my gratitude to all the reviewers who have reviewed many papers that have been submitted to this conference. As no program can become successful with a single person, so I extend my big thanks to all the participants who have turned up in such great numbers. Thank you so much for making this conference a successful event. Thank you all. Now I would request all the participants to please join us for a coffee break. And after 15 minutes, we will be assembling here for the keynote session by Professor Chandrajit Bajaj. Thank you all.